What even was that? Harsh noise. One of the most extreme music genres out there. If I ever thought there was a genre that could do that thing in Kingsman where like their heads explode, it would be this one. And look, before I get into the video, I want to state very clearly that I am by no means trying to make fun of or belittle anyone that's into this stuff. I genuinely find it extremely fascinating. That said, as someone that's pretty sensitive to extreme noises like nails on a chalkboard and stuff like that, it can be genuinely hellish to listen to, but it still holds this weirdly special place in my heart because in a sense it gave me my career. Today's genre is harsh noise wall. Oh God. For context, I started doing this series a couple years ago where I would listen to a random music genre. If you're watching this channel, there's a good chance you've probably seen it. I don't want to be genre-phobic. But back when I started it, I had done a couple episodes that literally nobody watched, and I thought maybe I'd do like 3 or 4, and then I did one on harsh noise, and it completely blew up. I'll always remember I was camping at the time, and every time I'd get a little service, it would have like 200,000 more views, and that video blowing up didn't only spring my career into what it is now, but also really showed me how diverse people's tastes can actually be, because when I was initially listening to this stuff, it genuinely gave me a really bad migraine. So I was very shocked when I started seeing tons of comments from people that are actual fans of the genre, kind of explaining their reasoning for why they personally love it. This genre that seems to defy everything that makes music, otherwise known as the anti-music genre. If you don't know what harsh noise is, well, the name is a little more on the nose than you might think. It is noise that is hard. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, feel free to leave a like, and if you really like the video, hit the subscribe. Though you could say that about a lot of things. I mean, technically all music is noise, and if you're someone that listens to, say, pop music, you might say metal is harsh noise, but you would be wrong. And to understand what harsh noise really is, first you gotta understand what noise music is in general, and it's not really something that can be explained in just one sentence from the dictionary. It's very subjective, but in very broad terms, it's defined as being a kind of music that challenges the distinction between what is and isn't considered music. It's a very experimental genre at its core, so there's not like a lot of confines to what it can and can't include, but in general, a lot of it will sound like this. Now take that stuff, amp it up, and add 10 more layers of noise, and it becomes harsh noise. Another word that's kind of interchangeable is harsh noise wall, meant to emphasize the kind of wall that's formed after a certain amount of layers just keep adding up. But for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to be referring to both of those as harsh noise. I know there's some distinctions there, but this is just easier, okay? But like in any genre, there's a few artists that are the big staples of it. The one you've probably heard the most of being merzbow. I don't know if I've ever actually said that name out loud before this. He has a pretty infamous harsh noise album called Pulse Demon, which sounds like this. And most likely has a higher pitchfork score than your favorite album. And there are a ton of video essays on this album specifically, so I'm not really going to go into this album, but also because there's another one that I found super interesting. Get a load of this name. Instruments Disorder 170 Songs CD by Garagagagag. First of all, has to be one of the craziest artist and album name combos I've ever seen, but also honestly pushed me to my limits of what I can handle. I had it on a lower volume than I would usually listen to this stuff on, and even then, it's very intense. I'm gonna play a clip now. I'm warning you. Probably want to put your volume a little down. I'm just saying. I would definitely hesitate to throw this stuff on the aux, especially if you're in a high-speed vehicle. Dude, you've been playing your songs the whole ride. Can I throw something on real quick? Yeah, dude. Yeah, go ahead. As long as it's a banger. Oh, it's a banger. Trust me. We all know listening to music can be smelly business, and that's why I would like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Scentbird. I've always liked the idea of having a signature scent. You know, you can only look so good, but the power of walking into a room and people going, "What is that?" You can't beat it. But it's hard to find out what kind of cologne you like because they can be pretty pricey, and that's scary if you don't know if you'll really like it or if it'll work for you. That's where Scentbird comes in. Scentbird is a fragrance subscription service that lets you try new designer fragrances each month for just $17. There's over 600 designer brands to choose from, everything from Versace to Gucci and Prada, and tons of independent brands too that you might never hear about otherwise. You also get a 30-day supply of each fragrance, giving you enough time to fully experience your scent and maybe even find your signature fragrance. Both colognes, perfumes, and unisex options. They sent me a few that I really enjoy, like this Imaginary Authors Saint Julep one that's really sweet and has hints of magnolia, bourbon, and tangerine. Great for a casual day out. It's one I genuinely love, and I would have never found it if not for Scentbird. Another one of my favorites has been this Fugazi Vanilla Haze. It has hints of tonka bean, almond, and vanilla pod. Good for when you're feeling a little more classy, a little night out on the town perhaps. If you're interested in trying Scentbird, scan the QR code or use the link below, and with my coupon code BLUSTER you'll get 55% off at Scentbird, plus you'll get free delivery to your door and a free case. You get the same product for just half the price. That's just $8. That's a steal in my book. Anyway, thanks to Scentbird for sponsoring the video, and back to the video. Dare I say, this stuff is kind of punk in its own way. It's so against the norms of what is enjoyable to listen to or considered accessible, and just basically throws any regard for the listener out the window. From the words of Gero Gerigegege themselves, keep in mind they're Japanese, so their English is a little off. Personally, I think that noise is also music. I have made music by thinking so far that there are no genres, no distinctions, and that noise is music, since I send the sounds themselves off. My specific appreciation on music is maybe the reason why many people have been designating my work as multi-genre. It is often said that every piece turns out to be the contrary of the fans' expectations, which is not intentional. If I made music intentionally every time, there would remain no pleasure for me at all. Anyway, I can say that from the start, I have always created what I wanted to do. The two main points concerning the Gero Gerigegege are do not copy others and human feeling in our own sense. So for him, harsh noise is kind of a stream of consciousness performance art that would be ruined by making it intentional and putting rules on it. A common joke that I've seen said about harsh noise is that there are more noise artists than noise fans, and while that's obviously a jab at how easy it seems like it is to make, it did get me thinking about how much it even is for other people to enjoy versus just being an outlet for the people creating it, kind of like an audible rage room. A performance art that's more of an act of raw emotion and expression than even worrying about its meaning as art. And this is an interesting topic with art in general, where we're so accustomed to the idea that it should provide something for the viewer, or in this case listener, to be valuable art. If you make an incredible song and never release it or show it to anybody, is it still an incredible song? Does it still have worth as art without having an impact on other people? It's so ingrained into our brains that in order for something to exist, it has to have a purpose, and if you're not getting anything from it, it's not art.
Well, what is this? It's just blue. It's just the color blue on a canvas.
Oh, it's actually a very specific shade of blue. The artist actually invented it. It's a style called monochrome painting where, you know, it emphasizes freedom and flipping the idea of conventional art on its head.
I could do that. Give me a blue crayon and I'll do it.
Okay. Here.
Get out of here. I'm not actually gonna do it. That's not art.
Okay, on one hand, I hate trying to define different art forms, but on the other hand, how do you know if something's pushing the boundaries if there are no boundaries, you know? And music as an art form has sort of staple elements to define what it is. The technical definition being vocal or instrumental sounds combined in such a way as to produce beauty of form, harmony, and expression of emotion. And I've said this in a couple videos before, so I'm sorry that I'm repeating myself, but the most important thing here is expression. And after doing a bunch of digging on the specifics and technicalities, in this case, I think it's up to the listener. Personally, I would say if you're listening to harsh noise and getting some kind of emotional response, it means something to you other than it sounding like static, then it's music. But if you're listening to this stuff and getting absolutely nothing out of it except maybe a headache, then I would say it's still music. It's just not the kind of music you're into, okay? You're not gonna have Post Malone and merzbow in the same playlist, but that doesn't make it any less music for the person that gets something out of it. This is something I'm still working on personally, but I think I have the basics kind of down. Look, if you're like a majority of people, in order to recognize music, your brain goes into searching for some familiar elements, a loop, drums, a melody, all stuff you can expect to hear in quote-unquote normal music. But listening to noise, you have to kind of come to terms with the fact that you're listening to something different. You can't expect a melody to pop up in there, maybe an interesting sine wave if you're lucky, but if you go into noise music with more of an open mind and see it as kind of a cousin to ambient music, I think you can get a lot more out of it. In essence, don't do what I did and listen to it for a day with expectations of there being familiarities in there and then judge it when there aren't any. I think that if you're going into this stuff, don't just put it on while you're doing something like you would with some other music. Really try to focus in on it, and after a bit, even if it's not for you, I think you'll see that it can actually be kind of meditative. And that's what I have to say about harsh noise. I have wanted to make this video for so long, so thanks so much for sticking to the end. I know there's quite a few video essays on this stuff, but I was hoping to add my own little perspective to it because I think the boundaries of art are really interesting. I have merch, but it's pretty cool. Check it out. If you like the video, feel free to leave a like, and if you really like the video, hit the subscribe button. Oh, and if you're already subscribed, you get another point. I almost forgot. Better be keeping track. Bye.